apologize that I'm coming to you late and that it's Monday morning because, to be completely honest, I completely forgot that yesterday was Sunday and it was my day to make a video. So I do have one prepared for you guys, and I think it'll be really good coming off of, Labor Day weekend and probably a lot of um, barbecues and, social gatherings and things like that where it can be really hard to stick to our game plan. And what's even harder is that on the backside of that, there's a lot of guilt and being hard on ourselves that comes with not being proud of our decisions. And so today, what I really wanted to talk about is just a couple of strategies for mindset when it comes to weight loss. As many of you know, mindset is something that I've studied in depth, and it comes more from an angle of helping athletes to perform at their best. But a lot of those strategies are the same. And giving your best effort to weight loss is really how we see the most results. So I wanted to dig into that a little bit more today and talk about losing weight is just as hard mentally as it is physically. And sometimes I would argue that it's even harder mentally. We work with people on all parts of their journey, losing weight, gaining muscle, and a lot of very specific goals in between. Today, though, we are going to talk specifically about the mental fatigue of weight loss. A lot of these things are transferable to other goals and things like that, but we're really going to hone in on weight loss today. If you're curious about how these translate to other types of goals, let me know and we can talk a little bit more about the specifics of that. There are a lot of people on their weight loss journey who feel like they have tried everything, nothing works, and being overweight is just a part of who they are. Deep down, they want to take care of their bodies, and being overweight is not a part of who they are or who they see themselves being. Today, we're going to look at a few ways you can work mentally while your body catches up and how to persevere when fat loss feels impossible or just frustrating. Also, not every strategy will feel right for you. Pick the one or two that do or sound like they're close to something that could work for you, and you and your coach can shape and mold them until they feel like they're the right fit for you. So, we have 4 strategies today. The first one is getting to know the future you, because you're chasing. So before you even make a single change to your diet or to your exercise routine, I want you to take a moment and visualize what the end goal is. And what is it that you actually want? And what comes to mind right away probably isn't your actual goal. So, something I hear a lot as a coach is I'm currently 230 pounds. I'd like to be 150 pounds as soon as possible. And that's usually about the extent of the thought process. And I'm sure many of you have your goal weight or your goal size in mind. What I want you to do is take that one step further and ask, okay, I want to go from 230 pounds to 150 pounds. What does that 150 pounds represent? That is what we're truly after. Does being 150 pounds mean that you'll have more confidence? Or maybe that you'll feel more confident enough to sign up for your first CrossFit competition or your first 5K, or to take your shirt off when you're at the beach, or to wear a sleeveless shirt to work, or not spend the whole flight wondering if you're taking up too much space. Mine is that I want to teach my grandkids how to wakeboard. I don't want to be in the boat or on the shore or at the nursing home explaining it to them. I want to show them. I want to be in the water with them when I'm however old I am when I have grandkids. I want to be able to show them. That's mine. I want you to think about that goal weight and that goal size. What do those actually represent? What will change when you are that size? And that is what we're focusing on. Spend time envisioning the whole person and not just what your body looks like. Once you have the whole person in mind, you can take steps towards becoming that person. When you're deciding if you'll skip a workout or get the extra large instead of the medium fry, make the choice that future you would make. It might sound shocking, but your body will fall in line and eventually start to reflect who you've decided to behave like. If you think future you would never miss a workout, then don't miss a workout. Become that person now. If you think the future you would get the small fries or skip the fries altogether, do that. Be that person today. I'm going to provide some questions for you to ask yourself as well, and I'll also put them in the comments so that you have some time to sit and really reflect on these. And if you have a Summit Health coach and you'd like to go over these questions, I know that they would love to explore these with you. Some additional things to think about if you're having a hard time thinking, okay, well, my body will be that size, but I really don't know what will be different about my life. Try and think through, just in general, what's going to be different about your life. What are you going to be doing that you can't do now? How do you feel physically, mentally, emotionally? What are you wearing that you don't wear now? Where do you work out? How much do you work out? Who are your friends? Who do you spend your time with? How do you spend your time? And what are other people saying about you? Not just about your size, but about who you are. Imagine every detail and come up with a creative way to kind of encapsulate that vision, whether it's creating a little postcard of the destination you're headed toward. Draw a little picture of yourself, talk about where you're going, what you're doing, who's there. Or if you don't want to write it down and that's not your style, maybe work with your coach and introduce yourself as that person who you want to be, but speaking as though you already are that person. Once we have that image in mind, ask yourself what choices you can make today that will help you become who you want to be a year from now. If you normally skip breakfast, practice a healthy breakfast today. Give that a shot. If you are not someone who normally drinks enough water, just have one extra glass of water today. You don't have to drink a gallon of water today, just a little bit more. The last thing I'll say on this one is that it's just as important to review and check in with your future self. You may realize that the clothing size or the number on the scale doesn't actually matter to you as much as becoming who you want to become. If you went from 230 pounds to 170 pounds, yes, you're still 20 pounds away from what your goal was, but it's also okay if you have become exactly who you want to be. Content with who you are is a lot more important than what a machine is telling you about who you are. If that machine, that scale, told you a different number, would it actually change anything about who you are? And it's good to stop and reflect on that. If you can fit into the airplane seat comfortably, you can wear what you want to wear, you can do everything you want to do, why are those 20 pounds so important? Just take a moment and reflect. I'm not saying they're not important, but it's okay if they're no longer important, and it's okay if they are. Next, we're going to focus on actions, not outcomes. So using our last example, and we'll use this through the whole thing. So let's say you have 80 pounds to lose. Again, I know this is not the case for everyone, but losing 80 pounds will very likely take a couple of years. And it can be incredibly difficult to stay focused and keep your eyes on the prize every single day for 2 years. It seems like it's never going to get here, especially when you have those days or weeks or even months where it feels like you're at a standstill. Even if you don't have 80 pounds to lose, your goals that you're envisioning might still be over a year away. So take this illustration and go with it. This is why it is absolutely essential that we focus on daily actions rather than these huge outcomes that we're hoping for. If you know someone in your life who is in recovery from substance abuse, they are pros at this. If you had told them on the day that they quit drinking that they wouldn't have another drink for the next 4 years, not a chance they follow through on that. They won't believe you. That seems so out of reach. 4 years of being sober, they've never done that since they were, I don't know, a middle schooler. However, they do a really good job of making the decision to just not drink today. And they continue to make that decision today and the next day and the next day and day after day. And slowly over time, that sober lifestyle becomes more and more attainable and more a part of who they are. Because it doesn't matter if it's your first day sober or your 10,000th day sober, you are living a sober lifestyle every single day you choose to be sober. And it's the same thing with getting healthy. I know I just told you to look far into the future and to envision who you're going to be, but once we've done that, we need to immediately shift our focus to relentlessly focusing on what we can control today to be healthier. Just be healthy today. And then do it again and again and again. And one day you'll wake up and you'll be there. And what's also interesting is that so rarely have I seen, with the number of people I've seen hit their weight goal, it's rarely that day that they feel the happiest. I have someone who I have worked with over the summer, and she wanted to lose about 15 pounds. And what's crazy is that as soon as we got the first 5 pounds off, she actually felt completely different about who she was and how she felt. And her continuing to push to her weight goal on the scale was not so much because she wanted to be that number, but more so because she was curious just to see, how will I feel 10 pounds lighter? I feel good now. Let's just kind of explore and see what is the right weight for me. So it wasn't the day she hit her goal weight that everything was just all of a sudden better. It was the day that she saw a picture of herself on her gym's Instagram page and didn't recognize who she was because she'd never seen herself look that way. And so focusing on those daily habits and less on the outcomes helps you to become the person you want to be. And that is the goal. We want to become the future self regardless of what the scale says. What this looks like going into action is going from 0 servings of vegetables, let's say you never ever eat vegetables, to just 1 per day. You don't need to go to 5 or 6 like we would ideally have you at. Just go to 1 and maintain that for a month or however long it's going to take, where it's not such a conscious effort. It's just kind of part of your routine. Then take the next step. All right, I have a vegetable every night with dinner. Maybe it's time to add 1 to lunch. Switch from a large fry to a medium fry. Just make it your normal to be a little bit better than you were last week. Doesn't need to be perfect every single day, just a little bit better than before. A really good measurement of this that I just thought of is road trips. A lot of people struggle on road trips to eat healthy, or they have been doing really well and they come back and I ask, how did it go? And they're like, well, it went really well, except for, a lot of things. And then they start to criticize themselves. And the simple question I ask is, did this road trip go better than the last one? All I need to know. If you brought food with you instead of stopping for every single meal, that's a win. That's a step in the right direction. And every time it gets a little bit better, a year from now, 2 years from now, you will have your road trip stuff dialed in. And every habit is that way. What's wonderful about staying action focused instead of outcome focused is that you have way, way more control over your habits than you do over the size of your body. So stop thinking so much about what you can't just choose to change. You can't just decide to be smaller. Focus on what you can change and what you can just decide to do, and let the outcome follow at its own pace. Take time to celebrate your wins and the things that you're doing right. As a coach, I am stoked for you. Let's say you lost 5 pounds in a month. Like, I'm very excited for you, very happy for you. That's a huge accomplishment. But truly, what I'm even more excited about is why. Why were you able to lose 5 pounds? Did you decide to prepare your breakfast the night before, knowing you would have a busy, rushed morning, and instead of hitting a drive-through, you said, I know tomorrow's going to be crazy. I'm going to put a few things out so my breakfast is ready to go. Did you decide to go for a walk on a day where hitting the gym wouldn't be possible? Something popped up last minute at work. I don't get to go to the gym today. Instead of just going home and sitting on the couch, maybe I don't have an hour to get to the gym, but I maybe have 20 minutes to get outside for a walk. Did you go to bed on time instead of watching the season finale of MasterChef? This is one I have not been able to accomplish yet, but I'm hoping someday I can. Keep in mind also that it is okay to downscale and to adjust what normal looks like. This is where it's really helpful to have a coach, because many of us are in a transition period right now with school starting again. If summer, let's say summer is a time where it's a lot easier for you to prioritize your movement, you can hit the gym for an hour, 5 days a week, and then you can also get outside for an hour walk every day. And that's your normal. It can feel then like a letdown when life changes, you're back to work, kids are back to school, activities start, and you're not able to maintain that anymore, and it can feel like a failure. All we need to do is adjust what normal is. And rather than saying, it's a failure, I can't do any of it, let's say maybe for the month of September, we consider 3 workouts a week for 30 minutes and a 20-minute walk every day to be your normal. That's something so achievable. That's way better than doing nothing. And even though it's not as, for lack of a better term, as much or as much effort as it was when you could go 5 days a week, it's still better than nothing. It's still consistent, and it's still moving you toward the person you want to become. That future you would choose a 30-minute workout 3 days a week over nothing at all. And when life calms down a little bit, we can ramp back up. It's okay to adjust the dial. It's okay to adjust what normal is and have a coach there who can help you do that. It's very, very helpful also to be able to prioritize what will be most important and not put pressure on ourselves to maintain perfection in these areas that don't matter as much to us, or to even just take the pressure of perfection away altogether. Third mindset strategy. Know what you're not willing to live without. We all have that thing. For my parents, it's beer and popcorn on Wednesdays. That's just not going to go anywhere. It doesn't matter what their goals are, that stays. For some people, it's going through the drive-through for dinner every day. Whatever it is, it might surprise you to hear that we're not going to push you to give up everything that you love, or even the things that made you overweight. Let's say something you're not willing to give up is the reason you are overweight. We are not in a place to take that away from you. Let's say we have someone who is a bachelor, he hates to cook, doesn't even own a saucepan, eats out every single day. For me to expect him to start bringing salads to work is just ridiculous. That's not a fair thing for me to ask. If you were able to see the chart that I posted on Friday before our Labor Day weekend started, if we have things we must keep, then we can keep them and make tiny adjustments from there. So by going from a large fry to a medium fry to a small to a baked potato that's completely loaded to a baked potato that's plain, we've cut our calorie count like in half by doing that. And if you're willing to do that, again, a little bit at a time, then maybe in the future, way in the future, we can cook that baked potato at home, even if it's on a paper plate going in a microwave. It doesn't always need to be the best choice, just a little bit better of a choice. Um, I hear this a lot from people, especially newer people who are starting their coaching journey for the first time. We talk a lot about eating whole foods instead of processed foods. And so, one of the more processed foods that I get a lot of questions about is protein powder. If you are someone, and this is again an example of how every situation is different, if you come in and you already eat 150 grams of protein a day, but 100 of those grams are from protein powder, then yeah, we might encourage you to incorporate some egg whites or some lean meats and help get some more natural proteins instead of such processed protein. However, if you come in and you eat 20 grams of protein a day, yes, please drink the protein shake. Use the protein powder. Let's get that protein intake up, even if it's not from the best protein source. That is okay. More protein is better if you're going from 20 grams to 150 grams. We want more. If you're at 150, then yes, we'll start tweaking and make those the best 150 grams you can get. When we're choosing what we want to keep, it's good to ask ourselves what little changes we're willing to try, or what healthier foods we're willing to add in, what portions might we be okay with shrinking a little bit. The burger is a great example. You can still have the burger. What would it look like if you used a lower fat beef and made the burger at home? Or what would it look like to put some vegetables on that burger? Some lettuce, some onions, tomatoes, things like that. Or what if we went from 2 patties down to 1 patty? You can still have the burger, but where might you be willing to bend? And if you're not willing to bend on that burger specifically, then let's look at some other habits and see where else we can make some changes so that you can keep the things that you really love. Lastly, and this is probably the most frustrating thing to work through, expect to plateau. This is really hard to watch people go. It's hard to go through. I would say it's almost harder to watch people go through this. When you start eating less food and start losing weight, your body does this really awesome thing called metabolic adaptation. And without going into too much detail of what that is, it basically means that your metabolism will adjust to the amount of food you're eating. Your body always wants to be in maintenance mode. So if you go from eating 2,000 calories a day to 1,500, eventually your body will learn to run on 1,500. And then when you go back to eating 2,000, you gain weight even though you're only eating 2,000 calories. It's very strange. And you stop being able to lose weight eating 1,500 calories, even though it seems like you're in a deficit. This is why some health coaches are so annoying about reverse dieting, making you eat more, making you do maintenance. It is probably the most frustration I've ever had from a client toward me is making someone, or not making, but asking someone to eat more when all they want is to lose weight. And we have your best interest in mind when we are reverse dieting or doing a maintenance phase, because your metabolism adjusts to the amount of food you eat. And every time we stay in a deficit longer and longer, the next pound becomes harder and harder to lose. Knowing that, though, brings a little bit of peace of mind. If you can understand the why behind this taking a long time and this being slow, it becomes a little bit easier to swallow. The best example of this that I've ever heard is like plateaus are like being stuck in traffic. If you try to manipulate the system, and you've seen this happen if you've ever been in a traffic jam, if you try to manipulate the system and weave in and out and go around and do all the things that make it worse, you could, one, end up in an accident. And in this case, that would be like doing harm to your body. If you decide to go around and do a lot of extra workouts because you're having to eat so much, or you stay in the deficit too long, you can be doing harm to your body by trying to manipulate the system. The other side of that is getting pulled over. Let's say you decide to pull off onto the shoulder and go around everybody and then try and get back in, and a copper sees you doing that, and you get pulled over. This delays things way longer than if you had just been patient, right? We've all gotten that speeding ticket um, when you tried to get somewhere fast, went too fast, and ended up getting there way later than you would have if you'd just driven the speed limit. So, getting pulled over and delaying things way longer if you had just been patient. This is when, again, clients try and go off course, not clients, I do it too. Try to go off course, try to manipulate the system, and you end up realizing, oh, that didn't work, or at least it didn't work long term, and now I have to start over. And this is just going to take longer and longer. So, the silver lining there is that if you stay the course, do it right, even when it's taking forever. And again, we all know that feeling in weight loss, we all know that feeling in traffic. Doing it right, even when it takes forever, your dedication to your daily habits, it will eventually lead to the outcome that you are looking for. When we're in these traffic jams, it's a great time to revisit future you. Are you still making, when you're in the middle of this plateau, are you still making choices that align with who you want to become? How does that person, that future you, how do they handle adversity and frustration? Because believe me, your life will not be perfect when you're skinny. You will still get frustrated. You will still have adversity. How does that person handle it? And then really get honest with yourself. How consistent are you being? Are old habits starting to creep back in? Are you going for the large fry instead of the medium? Are you starting to eat when you're emotional or stressed? Are those things starting to come back? These are the best times to double down on skill building. So when I have clients in maintenance after a cut, it's really easy to get a little antsy, a little anxious, and want to go back into weight loss mode, especially when it was going really well. A lot of times we will start maintenance right at the tail end of a cut that's going really well, and we're seeing consistent weight loss. And that's very frustrating for a lot of people when they're like, it's working, I'm losing weight, why are we stopping right now? This is a really, really good time to work on building skills. So maintenance or plateaus, those are the times where if we're not seeing progress on the scale, let's focus on other places we can make progress. What is a different kind of workout class that you've always been curious about but you've never done? Or a recipe that you've been wanting to make but you haven't tried? Or if you eat really fast and that's something that has led to weight gain in the past, let's work on eating slower and use this as an opportunity of normal eating to practice healthy habits versus only having those healthy eating habits when we're trying to lose weight. Maintenance or plateaus are a great time to have those habits in a more normal setting. Lastly, check in with yourself on how you feel. Beyond what the scale says you should feel, go back to our example of going from 230 pounds to 150 pounds. If you're stuck at 170, take a moment and question what would really be different 20 pounds from now. Would you actually be happier and healthier? Or is the pursuit of an arbitrary number taking away from the person that you envisioned? Is the number on the scale meaning more to you than who you're becoming? If that's true, it's time to look inside and reflect and figure out what you can do at this very moment to become the person who you want to be and not just the size that you want to be? What will be the difference 20 pounds from now? Revisit that often. Look into the future and make sure you have this good balance of looking into the future and becoming who you want to be, but also those day to day actions and making sure that those two things line up consistently with each other. If you guys have any questions, any reflections, any stories, things to add, those are always very helpful to hear. So go ahead and write some of your thoughts in the comments. I'll put the questions down there, and I will see all of you in October. Enjoy your Labor Day.